Key to a Successful Marriage Life by OLUMBA OLUMBA OBU and narrated by Neal, Zurkowski. Our first Bible lesson comes from Ephesians 5:25, and it states, "Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it." Second Bible lesson comes from Colossians 3:18. "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband, as it is fit in the Lord." And our golden text comes from 1 Peter 3, verse 8. "Finally, be ye all in one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, be pitiful and courteous." Marriage is a holy institution headed by Christ. It entails a lot of sacrifice in love on the part of the couples. The husband should love his wife as Christ loves his church. And what Christ is to his church, so must a husband be to his wife, a pastor and a comforter. Love is the bridegroom's commandment. It is not the deed of man, but of God, that a man should love his wife. Christ, as the shepherd of the church, loves and protects her. He takes care to ensure that no sheep go astray. The husband has the same duty towards his wife. To marry is not a difficult question, but can you be the keeper and lover of your own wife? This means laying down your life for your wife. If the marriage home is not in peace, the husband is answerable. He is not a good pastor. If the wife goes astray and is perished, God will demand her soul from her husband. God does not know the woman, but he places everything under the care of the man. And God uses the responsibility of caring for the wife to test the man, to see whether he will love his wife as Christ loves him, the husband. If a husband and wife wants to apply God's example of love to wedlock, they should first of all ask themselves whether they have received his instructions. Christ is telling all husbands to take good care of their wives and children, and to keep them as a good pastor does his flock, guiding his life so that the sheep may live. He has warned us that if a man does not love his wife, his prayers will not be heard by God. But how many husbands today are ready to learn of Christ? For our sake, Christ suffered to the end, so that for our wives we may likewise suffer as good shepherds. What day has Christ scourged you? What day has he cursed you or pronounced woe unto you? What day has he refused to give you food or said unto you, "From today I don't want you again, go away to your mother"? What day has Christ told you, "This house is mine, I don't want you"? Has he ever told you not to touch anything because you have brought nothing into this world? No, never. Christ is the bridegroom without blemish. But contrary to Christ's expectations and instructions, husbands today are selfish, and they cause division in the home. They maintain strictly exclusive ownership over this or that thing in the house, whereas husbands and wives should have the same right over everything in the house. They should share the same trunk, box, spoon, plate, and cup. There should be no harm in the husband using the wife's items and vice versa. They should have everything in common. Yet instead of heeding Christ's instructions, some husbands treat their wives spitefully, disgracing them whenever and wherever they like. They boast that they can marry as many women as they like, and in their foolishness they forget that any pastor who cannot take care of a single sheep cannot in any way be safely trusted with two, let alone more. Look around the world today and see how many men have suffered the consequences of the ill treatment they give their wives. Through their negligence, they wreck the marriage home. Tribulation, litigation, fear, illness, and wrath are among the things any husband who does not love his wife is most liable to suffer. Since it is so difficult to successfully be the husband of one wife, polygamy is a real danger that we should dread. The man who ill-treats his wife with the hope that he can marry another tomorrow should note the danger to which he has exposed himself. This gospel has peace to offer to those who do it, and war to wage against all those who do not do it. Let us look at our first Bible lesson. It comes from Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Some people claim that they are behaving as Europeans, first, by living a happily married life. This is not true. The only fact is that Europeans first embraced Christianity and have successfully applied the principle of love in marriage. So the man who behaves well in marriage life is not doing as Europeans, but is doing the Word of God, as Christ is doing in showing perfect love towards his church. Of all things in the world, what is most precious to a man is his wife. She is his lifetime cross that the man has to carry until death separates them. All truth, humility, long-suffering, and patience should be employed in the love for his wife. She is the only person with whom you are one flesh in this world. Something that you do to your wife is something that you do to yourself. Money does not show love in marriage. First of all, ask yourself whether you will be able to carry your wife's cross during sickness, tribulation, want, and misfortune. You are her father in tribulation. You are also her mother. You are her brother, her sister, and husband. You are her all in all. You cannot think of her clothes, health, and food without thinking of how you can supply them. But disappointment comes when the man who is supposed to be provident in love, comfort, and godliness chooses to deprive his wife of all these rights simply because he prefers wine, hotel, and outside women to his wife. He leaves his wife too worried to be comfortable. The bad husband causes his wife to wander and go lost like a sheep without a shepherd. And what punishment awaits such husbands? Their punishment should be heavy, for there is no reason why the love of a husband should be turned from his wife to cinema, bar, and outside women. If we care to examine, why should we do things while our wives are refused scratchy crumbs? Why should we give them stone for bread? Why then should our wives knock and we refuse to open and admit them into our bowels of love? Why should we be stone-hearted against the weaker vessel of the Lord? Why should we desert them in their poverty? Why should we be bad shepherds and antichrists? Christ saw how poor we were, and so came and surrendered all his property and heavenly glory, and suffered that we might be filled. He saw how weak we were, and so surrendered all his strength, also that we might be strengthened. But if we fail to follow this example in loving our wives, our punishment is indeed great. We are created in the image of God and Christ. If we do not love our wives, we are no more in the image of Christ, and God is no more in us. All the above mentioned godly qualities which Christ shows towards us and his church are expected to be seen by the wife in her husband. She finds God in her husband. But supposing the husband does not care to seek, find, and abide in God and his Christ, how can the wife see God in him? How can marriage be successful without the head, Christ? Any husband who hasn't had Christ is useless. In a house where the man is useless is good for nothing. Before now you were saying, "Someone has spoiled my house," but now you have seen that by telling lies to your wife, causing division in anything with her, and by not loving her as you should, you are the sole cause of unhappiness in your home. Accept Christ as the head of your house. Otherwise, you are ruined already.